Here we go, guys. After months and months of comments about my cows, I'm ready to tell you all about my experience with livestock wealth. Welcome back, everyone. My name's Paul. I'm brand new to investing, and a few months ago, all the way back in April of 2021, I decided to do something really weird with my money and try to invest it in some commodities in South Africa through an agri-fintech startup company called Livestock Wealth. I did this not just to make money through livestock wealth, but also try and identify any risks that I might come across and essentially take those risks for you. And spoiler alert, my experience was mixed, somewhere below good. In fact, until last week, this video was actually going to be called something like I've been scammed. That's really how bad I was feeling about this investment until last week when I got some communication that's made me pull that back a bit. And I want to explain in this video why. In my previous video, I was very excited about buying my 2 cows from a company who take your money as an investor and give it to a growing farmer in South Africa. The farmers get to use that money to buy new equipment and grow their business as well. In return, they take 2 cows from me, keep them safe, grow them, until eventually they're sold off for me and you get a guaranteed, yes, guaranteed return of 5 to 7%. I also had a really fun interview with the CEO Natuko Shezi, where we attempted to identify any risk that could be on this platform even though the return is guaranteed. And today I can finally share with you my journey with livestock wealth and my end return. I think I was a little bit unlucky. Every single risk that I identified in my previous video about livestock wealth was realized. Every single one. I think I might have invested in a South African commodity at a bad time for South Africa and also a very complicated time for livestock wealth itself. The first risk I identified and was affected by was that livestock wealth is a pretty bare bones and new company. I was prepared for this. I was prepared for a couple of teething problems. And the first signs of little bugs did show up as soon as I started making payments. After making my first product selection, it took nearly a month for them to actually allocate any assets. Livestock Wealth state this is normal for them because it's quite a weird market that they work in. But it's interesting to see that the emails that you get aren't necessarily automated, and it doesn't suggest that they've got a big client base. It also suggests that they don't have many people working there in the background. There's probably 2 or 3 people manually allocating your assets to a very small group of farmers. It gives you the sense that livestock wealth is still very, very small, and that's not a bad thing. Companies are allowed to grow, but I thought it'd be great to add that as an indicator of where livestock wealth is as a company. But it does get much worse than that. When my investment eventually matured, it took around 2 months to get my money back. I made my first request for withdrawal on November the 16th, and I was asked for further ID. I had given them this already, but I kind of let it go because I was getting the emails from a lady called Tulani. She's noted here as the customer experience officer, but she's also the social media officer and apparently the finance officer as well. Again, shows you how small this company might be. I gave them time. I asked for an update probably a month later and heard absolutely nothing back. At this point on December the 13th, you guys are spamming the hell out of me for an update on these cows. And I'm sitting there going, I've heard nothing. Nothing continued to happen, so I had a nose at some of the reviews online, and it looks like in November, Livestock Wealth was really having a problem with withdrawing funds or sending the funds out. Starting to feel like funds are missing, losing 100k and not refunding money, withdrawal taking more than 10 weeks and no reason or response, and someone here with 60,000 in their wallet trying to withdraw some money. And after reading those comments, I did something I'm not proud of and I've never actually done before. I leaned in with the influencer card. Ugh. I feel dirty. But on Christmas Eve, I sent the CEO of the company an email saying that I was going to do a video promoting livestock wealth and that I was waiting for a statement and they had 14 days to respond. And at that point, I really was going to release a pretty horrible video. 2 days later, 2 or 3 days later, I got an email from Shezi himself asking Standard Bank to release their funds to me. He followed it up with a statement that seemed to explain everything. He says during November they had a change in staff handling the overseas payments. This introduced a learning curve which has since been overcome. This is a very short version of what actually might have happened, because I found another reply that actually Livestock Wealth are now a financially regulated company in South Africa. And I think this is brilliant news for Livestock Wealth. It offers much more regulation and a lot more security for its clients in South Africa. Probably not for us overseas though. And at the end of the email, Shezi also says that in 2022, Livestock Wealth planned to register as a US company so that US funds could be used for investors overseas. That means everything's invested in dollars and you receive dollars back. Which brings me to the next part of why this didn't go well. On my statement from Livestock Wealth, I was credited with 23,058 Rand. That's what I deposited in. I then bought 2 cows for 11,529 Rand each. They then went off to cow heaven. And in return, I received 24,210 Rand and 90. That's exactly 5%. So if I lived in South Africa, I definitely would make a really healthy return on my money. But what left my bank account and what came back to my bank account were very different numbers. I sent £1,172.28 to Livestock Wealth. My bank also charged me £35.17 for the privilege of sending to a different currency. I wonder if they accept Dogecoin. And the money that eventually came back into my bank account on the 30th of December was £1,095.91. That's a total loss of £111.54. Now, some international investors who have withdrawn their money at the same time I did have been complaining about this, saying that the bank didn't give their money back with the correct amount of dividend. But what's actually happened is that between the months of April and December of 2021, the South African Rand has actually lost 8.5% of its value versus the GBP. It means if you add currency fees on top of this, you start to lose a significant amount if you're investing in Livestock Wealth from overseas. In the first video, I had already identified this risk, and if I wasn't withdrawing the money for video purposes, I would almost certainly have left it in Livestock Wealth and continued to reinvest it in something else. It just wouldn't have been worth it to withdraw it, and I would have to wait until there was more favorable currency conditions. But like an idiot, I had to withdraw this money for the purposes of the video because part of this video is testing whether Livestock Wealth is able to deliver your money back to you. Livestock Wealth is ultimately a great company. I think it's doing amazing things for people in South Africa, and it's just a genius idea. It's won awards and now it is financially regulated in South Africa. These are all really positive points, but the company itself is still very small and obviously has a lot of teething problems. For now, I'm really sad to say my money won't be going back into Livestock Wealth, but I'm going to watch this industry really closely, and as soon as it starts to show real signs of prosperity, I promise you, I will be the first one to start investing back into Livestock Wealth.